Okay, so we're going to look at motion tracking, and here's something I made earlier. It's some motion track footage, and I've applied circles to various areas. And there's the footage. It's something from archive.org, so it's some open source free footage, and it's kind of good fun. And as you can see, well, as you can maybe see, each of those circles is following a different piece of the footage. And it's pretty easy to do, and it can be really creative. It can also be really useful to do various effects. But in this case, I'm using it in a slightly more creative way. So this is the original footage, and I've got a project just blank and set up here. So first thing to do, I'll drag this footage in, and I want to make a composition. So I want the composition to be the same size as the footage, same frame rate as well. So drag it onto the composition. There it is. Here's the footage, and I thought I would use a different bit of the footage, so let's try a different area. Some kind of fun stuff happened around here. Let's begin my work area here, so I hit the B key, and then go to about here and hit the N key, and I'll trim my composition. Right, so now I've got this, and just make sure there's no glitches in that. So we're going to be using the tracker, and as you can see, I've got the tracker open over here. If you can't see the tracker, then go to the window menu and you can open it. Or, like me right now, I'm using all panels workspace. If we look at the tracker, you can see there's various things in here, and I'd suggest you go to the Adobe website and kind of look up what happens in here a bit more. Right now we're going to look at track motion, but the system will work very similarly in each area. So first of all, first of all, I'll show you what's in here. There's transform and audio, which is standard when you open up the properties of a movie, and we're going to be adding some more stuff into that area. So I click on track motion, and a layer pops up, and you get this little thing here. And I want to look at this guy's nose. I'll start there. Zoom in a bit. So this thing here, it works really well in areas of high contrast. I've got a good bit of contrast between his nostrils, or the shadow, and the top of his nose there. Bigger you make this, the more it's going to analyse. We don't really need it to be very large here. Depends how fast things are moving, all sorts of things. We can make this bit larger and smaller. Again, go to the website and look up exactly what they do. It's not super important for now. Just zoom out a bit, and then there's various things you can do here. So I'm just going to look at position, but we can also look at rotation and scale. So you get more analysis points when you look at these things. But just for position, you get one kind of analysis point here. I'm gonna then hit Analyze Forward. I put the, oh, I was in the wrong place there. Let's go back to the beginning. Make sure, okay, there we go. We'll put it there. So I want to be at the beginning of my footage, and then I'll analyze forward. Of course, it could be at the end and then analyze backwards. You can also go frame by frame, which are these things, and we might need that a bit later. So let's try this first. I'll click Analyze Forward, and you watch this thing. So it's doing a fairly good job of automatically tracking that. It's doing a really good job of it, actually. So wait till it gets to the end. We may have to correct some stuff. Nope, that's done it. So I think that did a really good job of sticking on that guy's nose. There may be a couple of glitches in there. And the way to find out generally is zoom in, hold down Command and click the left and right cursors. I'm tapping through it now. I mean, even where that is a horrible jump in the footage and it's got it dead on, so that's great. So now we need to do something with this. So now down here you can see that we've got a new menu's been added, motion trackers, well, a new property. If we open that up, we've got tracker 1. You can have many trackers. And open that up, we've got track points. You can see there's some keyframes here. And then we've got various stuff in here, so confidence, attach point, all sorts of stuff, right? So we don't really need to worry about this kind of stuff. We're not actually going to use this, not directly. What we'll do, I'll close this, is first of all add a null object. Now null objects, null means sort of nothing, and a null object doesn't appear, but it can be used to control other objects. Now this is an object like any other. It's got various properties here, but you can't see it. There's nothing to see. Well, you'll see a little red outline when we go back to the composition. But what we're going to do now is say edit target, and it's chosen the null object because it's the only other layer there. We'll say OK, and then click apply. And it says apply dimensions x and y. We can have x only and y only. I'll say OK. And now we jump back to the composition. Now we can see my null object. It's this red box here. It won't render, so you won't actually see this. But what you can see now is the null object has got position data. It's got position keyframes that be made automatically. And if I hit play, well, you don't actually see it, but if I scrub through it, you'll see it. You'll see it sticking to the guy's nose, where the top left corner is. Now that null object can be used to position other objects. So let's make a circle. Make sure nothing's selected, so I click down here, otherwise we'll be making masks and all sorts of other things. But nothing's selected, so I get my circle. Click, hold down shift to make a perfect circle. There's the anchor point over there, but I want it in the center. So a little trick is you click on the pan behind anchor point tool, and hold down command or control in PC and double click on that, and it pops into the center. So now I can get this and just stick it on the center there. If I hit play, nothing's going to change. My circle's just staying in the same place the whole time. However, if I go to parent, click on that menu and say null, it will now parent to the null object. So now you can see it moves with the guy's head. So the null object moves and the circle moves. Now I could have just tracked and I could have made the shape layer my target. It would have done exactly the same thing. However, it would have put loads of position data in my shape layer, which would have made it much harder to sort of change your mind and move this into different places. Wherever I move this circle, it'll still follow the null, but now I can have my own animation in position, or I can just move it around. I can do whatever I want. And it doesn't have any keyframes. It's just going to follow the null, which is kind of a much easier way of working. Now let's do some more tracking. So go back to the beginning. Do you know what? I only want it from where she gets in frame, so I'm going to move my work area to there, and I'm going to trim my composition again. So let's analyze her. So I can't click on tracker now because I need to go back to my footage. So I'll click on the footage again, and now I can track motion. Click that again. I'm at the beginning. Get this thing, move it onto her eye. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Again, I could sort of increase my area here. I think this is alright. That seems to be about the right size for finding an eye, and that's going to analyze that area. And I'll click Analyze Forward again, and we'll see what happens. So far, so good. Now it's kind of gone off. So I'm going to click Stop. I wanted to show that it doesn't always work, because conditions can change, and I think the shape of the eye has changed dramatically from there to there. So we need to sort of help After Effects out. So I'm going to zoom right in, and I'm going to press Command and the right arrow and just find out where it went wrong. So it starts going wrong there. So I'm going to go back down, go a couple of frames forward, and I'm manually going to drag that down each time. Do one more. I'll get to there, and I'm going to try analyzing again, and it'll overwrite the frame. So let's try again. Stop again. So something went wrong there. Let's go back. It's good there. Again, let's move it forward. I'm going to try stepping forward manually, so I use this, analyze one frame forward. Okay, now After Effects is having a pretty good job at getting that, so I'll hit play. hit analyze forward, sorry. Now that's seemingly got it pretty well now. You can see it overwriting. Oh, now it stopped. So let's go back a few frames. So again, it's probably because where did it go wrong? It went wrong there. So it's good there. And we want to get to around where it goes wrong. So there. It starts to go wrong about here. So I'm going to go back onto her eyeball there and press one frame. And pressing it repeatedly seems to be pretty good. No, that's a bit off. Let's go back a few frames. Let's go back. There we go. Now it seems to have got it again. Let's see if it gets all the way to the end. It's not bad. So what I could do is just scrub through the footage. See how well it gets it. And any big glitches we can correct. So something happened there. So let's go one frame forward. I'm just going to manually do it this time. So again, I'm pressing Command right to go forward and then just dragging the thing down. You can see visually where it's gone wrong. These are sort of things you could correct afterwards, and you could manually move the position of the null objects as well at the very end. But it's a lot easier if you do it now, I think. There's a few here are a bit off as well. Little ones like that don't matter so much, but I think we've got a pretty good job there. So I'll zoom out. I want to make another null object, so let's go layer, new null object. And then I'm going to say edit target, I want null 2, OK, and then apply, X and Y, OK. Now we're done with our motion tracking. So you see we've got null 2 there, so I'm going to rename this. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I double click then. I'm going to click once and hit return. I'm going to call this woman null. Click on that, hit return, call that man null. And I'm going to call this man circle. And then I'm going to make another one. Let's make it over here, go into there, command, double click, get the anchor point in the middle. And I'll call the second ellipse I didn't want to make in the same shape layer. I want it to be its own shape layer. Let's click off that. Let's try again. There we go. So let's click on the second shape layer and call it woman circle. Now last time what I did was I got the man circle here and I parented it to man null. Well, it's called null 1 then, but it's updated itself, which is great. I want to parent this to woman null. Another way of doing this is you get the little pick whip, it's called there, drag it and find the layer you want to parent it to. That's kind of a quick way of doing it. Now let's just hit play and see what happens. So that's kind of fun, isn't it? It's slightly bizarre, but it kind of works really well. So, you know, now because I've used null objects, I can then just move these around, find an interesting place, do whatever I want with them. And the last time I did this, you saw that sort of weird effect. Now, I'll just show you what I did there. They were basically blend modes. So down here you've got mode, and they've got all the sort of things you get in Photoshop here. So I made the circles difference, and then that just inverts what's below them. But if what is below them is nothing, they'll do something different. So I'll turn off the video layer, and now we just got two circles, and where they overlap, you get the negative. So that's it. Just one last step, because some people find this useful. Let's export it. Let's go to composition, add to render queue. I've already saved some presets here. So I've got my presets down there. I can just click on that. I'm going to say H.264 and choose a place to put it. Let's put it in here, save and render. Let's check it out. So where did I put it? Nope, that's the last one. I have no idea where I put it. It's called dancing. Well, the way of finding out is to duplicate this, click on that, and we'll see where I put it. Her dancing moth. There it is. Okay, dancing moth. It must have been in there all along. No, it's in the last project I made. That's where it is. That's where it is. Dancing moth. Right. So there's my final movie. All done. Thanks very much. Enjoy.